There are days when the heart feels that something is moving, even if everything looks the same on the outside, as if a truth that has been hidden for a long time is beginning to push from the inside out and finally wants to come to light. It's a strange, almost electric feeling that accompanies you from the moment you wake up to the time you fall asleep. It's not fear, even if it sometimes seems like it. And it's not just nostalgia, even if the past returns to your mind with unaccustomed strength. It is something deeper, a silent knowing that settles in the middle of your chest and whispers to you that the story is not over yet. Perhaps in the middle of your everyday life you have suddenly stopped because the weight of the air around you has changed, as if the atmosphere itself is filled with an energy that you cannot put into words, but that your soul recognizes exactly. Often we think that such sensations are mere imaginations, signs that we invent to alleviate the pain of absence. But often they are impulses that move from the other person to us, as if their inner awakening were touching yours across the distance. It is no coincidence that you are receiving this message right now. In the vast fabric of the universe, where millions of possibilities exist simultaneously, you have landed at exactly this point. Carl Jung, one of the great explorers of the human psyche, taught us that there are no empty coincidences. He called it synchronicity. Those moments when the inner and outer worlds align in a way that reveals a hidden meaning to us. What you are experiencing right now is not an obsession and not an inability to let go. It is the resonance of an event that takes place on an invisible level. Jung explained that we are all connected by a collective, unconscious, and underground network in which mind and soul touch long before bodies meet. If you feel this restlessness today, it is because at the other end of this invisible thread, the other person has begun to pull on it. This person who has been circling in your soul for so long is on the verge of taking a step they weren't ready to take before. And this vibration reaches you instantly. It's crucial that you acknowledge what you're feeling. For a long time, logic has told you that you have to forget that silence is a definitive answer and that you should close the door. But a part of you has remained open, not out of defiance, but out of wisdom. Your intuition has acted like a reliable compass, keeping you in tune with a truth that the rational mind cannot grasp, that soul connections are not broken by physical distance. There are bonds that transcend time and space. When two souls have touched each other so deeply, separation is only a temporary illusion necessary for their growth. What your intuition perceives today is the prelude to breaking the silence. It is the sound of falling protective walls, the confirmation that the truth that was still asleep at the beginning can no longer be held back and is looking for its way to the surface. But in order to receive this return with the necessary wisdom, we must understand what is really happening here. It's not just about someone returning because they feel lonely or bored. This energetic movement is far more complex and sacred. It is very possible that this is the moment when a door that has been closed for months or even years finally opens. But to cross that threshold without repeating the pains of the past, we need to understand why it closed in the first place. Because what this person once removed was not a lack of love, but something that few dare to say openly, something that depth psychology helps us decipher. The reason this person left is the same reason why he must now inevitably return. But before this physical reunion can take place, there is an inner transformation to illuminate. Only by understanding the darkness of her departure will you truly appreciate the light of her return. If you are ready to integrate this realization into your life, write in the comments, "I receive the light of return." To understand why this person is coming back now, we must first dispel the most painful myth that you have carried around with you during this period of silence. The idea that they have moved away because they did not feel enough. The human mind tries to protect us from pain by seeking simple, logical explanations. And the most common one is, when someone leaves, it means that we were not important to them. But in the case of soul connections, the truth is often exactly the opposite. This person who shaped you so much did not disappear because he was empty inside. She disappeared because she felt so much that she didn't know where to start. Her voice trembled, even if you never saw it. And with her, her whole life. When life shakes in this way, every step forward seems like an abyss. And man's primal instinct towards something overwhelmingly unknown is not to embrace it, but to flee, to protect one's identity. This is where the concept of shadow, as Carl Jung described it, becomes crucial to your inner peace. We all carry a shadow within us, an invisible backpack full of insecurities, deepest fears, and those parts of us that we hardly want to look in the face. When this person met you, you weren't just love or companionship. You became a bright, relentless mirror. Your light, your sincerity, and the depth of your love lit up corners of her soul that had been in darkness for years. In you, she didn't just see the beauty of what you could have created together. She also saw her own shortcomings, her fear of not being enough, her horror of vulnerability, and those wounds she had never really healed. It was not chaos against you, but chaos within herself. There was something she couldn't say because she knew it would change everything. And in view of the mirror you held up to her, her ego felt threatened. Often when someone is not ready to face their own shadow, they choose to break the mirror. He moves away from the source of light because the intensity is overwhelming. While you've wondered if there's something wrong with you, if you've asked for too much or given too much, this person was fighting a silent battle between their need for control and their ability to feel. She temporarily chose the safety of the known, even if that meant remaining in a grey, lifeless reality rather than facing the radical transformation that your connection demanded of her. There are people who prefer to pretend that they don't feel anything instead of admitting that their lives are on the verge of changing completely. He built a rigid structure around his heart, a fortress of logical excuses, everyday pursuits, and long pauses in silence, believing that the intensity of his feelings would disappear if he stayed away long enough. This flight was not an act of malice, but a primitive self-protection mechanism. This person used this inner construction for a long time to protect themselves from the emotional storm you created in them. She tried to convince herself that one could live from the mind and not from the heart, and clung to the idea of having to keep one's distance in order to maintain her stability. But what this person didn't know, and now realizes with overwhelming power, is that structures built out of fear have an expiration date. You can deceive your mind, you can lie to those around you, but you can't deceive your soul forever. The energetic effort to suppress a feeling of such magnitude is deeply exhausting, and at some point, the weight of the mask becomes unbearable. When this person moved away, he thought he would find peace, but instead he found a resounding emptiness. The physical distance, which was supposed to serve to oblivion, paradoxically reinforced the truth. In the solitude of her retreat, without the distraction of your physical presence, she was left alone with the energy of connection. And it was there, in the silence that her own flight had generated, that the shadow side ceased to be a terrifying monster and became a teacher. She realized that fleeing from you was really an escape from yourself, and that there is no place in the world where you can hide from your own heart. This person carried this burden for much longer than you can imagine, And as much as they tried to hide everything, there came a moment when life itself showed them that shunning you didn't solve anything. This process of distancing itself was painfully necessary. If she had stayed with you from the beginning without going through this shadow work, her fears would have sabotaged the relationship from within. She needed this time of darkness, confusion, and loneliness to understand that the rigid structure she had used for protection had long since become her own prison. Now this prison is beginning to crumble. The old defenses no longer work, and the silences that once offered protection now lie like heavy stones on her. We are witnessing the collapse of their resistance, not because you have pushed, but because the nature of the connection is stronger than any human fear. But the shadow cannot hide forever. And when you try to bury a living feeling, an inescapable psychological phenomenon arises that this person is experiencing right now. Not only does forgetting become impossible, but memory becomes a haunting force that reclaims its place. There is a fundamental paradox in the universe of spiritual connections that is often counterintuitive to our logical mind, the dynamics of the energetic vacuum. Probably in the most painful phase of the breakup, you felt the uncontrollable impulse to search, repair, demand explanations, or simply make yourself noticed for fear that this person might forget you. It's a natural instinct. We believe that presence guarantees memory and that absence means forgetting. But on the energetic level, the opposite is happening. And that is exactly what this person is experiencing now. When you withdrew your energy and ended the persecution, whether out of exhaustion, out of dignity, or out of a conscious decision to take care of yourself, you did not create closure, but a vacuum. Spiritual physics, just like classical physics, teaches us that nature abhors a vacuum and wants to fill it immediately. As long as you carried the weight of the connection, as long as you pulled the energetic thread with your fear and waiting, this person felt a saturation that allowed them to stay in their comfort zone, safe in the certainty that you were there and held everything. But the moment you let go, the moment you stopped the flow of your neediness in their direction, the energetic cord relaxed, and that person felt the deafening silence of your absence for the first time. This vacuum that you have created is not a passive nothing. It is an active magnetic force. By withdrawing your attention, you took away the mirror in which she was looking at herself and the security she took for granted. Her soul was forced to face the reality of her own loneliness. Carl Jung talked about how we project our needs outwards, and when this person lost your energetic projection, they were unprotected in front of their own truth. To alleviate this unrest, she presumably tried to fill this emptiness with what could be called existential noise. Maybe she's been compulsively distracting herself with work, taking refuge in empty conversations with people who don't vibrate on her frequency, or trying to replace you emotionally with superficial connections. All of this was a deliberate attempt to overload the senses so as not to have to hear the voice of their own intuition, to pretend that they don't touch anything and that life goes on as normal. She has surrounded herself with scenarios and people that offer instant but shallow gratification, hoping that a busy mind might silence a quiet heart. But this is where the inevitable defeat of the ego before the soul begins. With every attempt at distraction, she came up against an insurmountable limit. Perhaps frustrated, she realized that noise does not fill the soul. It only numbs the mind for a short time. Every time something didn't fit in her new routine, every time a conversation seemed trivial or a laugh sounded hollow compared to the one with you, life showed her a simple yet devastating truth. It's not about filling any space. It is about recognizing which soul has left a trace that no other could erase. The replacement attempts failed because they lacked the energetic resonance that you brought with you. This person has been looking for that peace, depth, and understanding in other places that he has only experienced at your side. And since he did not find it, the comparison became inevitable. The physical absence has become an omnipresent mental presence. What was meant to be forced oblivion has turned into an invasion of memory, and what this person experiences these days are not voluntary memories. She doesn't consciously sit down with a cup of coffee to think about you. It's something much more immersive and powerful. They are memory spurts that appear without permission. Suddenly, in the middle of an ordinary day, the image of your laughter appears, the way you talked to her when no one understood her, or an inconspicuous detail that she thought she had long forgotten, but that has been deeply imprinted in her psyche. These memories emerge uncalled because they carry an emotional truth that the conscious mind can no longer suppress. Jung explained that what we fight remains and grows in the shadows until it shows up. So the more she tries not to think about you, the stronger your image becomes in her unconscious. She remembers not only the big moments, but the feeling of security she had with you, the certainty of being seen and accepted without masks. She realizes that even though she was fleeing from the intensity, she's only proven that what she feels about you can't be repeated with anyone else. This mental invasion creates considerable emotional exhaustion, but it is necessary. It is the fatigue of running away. While she kept telling herself not to look for you, something inside her began to shout the opposite so loudly that she could no longer ignore it. It is the painful but healing realization that the happiness she seeks on the outside is inextricably linked to the connection she left behind. The paradox of absence has fulfilled its task. Since you're no longer there to hold the relationship, that person had to carry the entire weight of the connection themselves. And this weight, this inescapable gravity, is what is now tipping her inner scales towards return. It's no longer a question of whether she loves you or not. This has become clear in their loneliness. It's about how she can deal with the vacuum that only your presence can really fill. As their minds wrestle with these memories and their ego begins to give way, their energy begins to reach out to you desperately. It transcends the level of thought and becomes a physical, tangible signal that you undoubtedly already perceive. As her mind fights this battle with memory, her energy, which is much faster and more honest than any thought, has already begun to travel to you. Here we enter a fascinating field in which psychology and mysticism meet, the energetic symptomatology of the connection. It is crucial that you understand that what you have been feeling in your body and in your emotions lately is neither imagination nor an after effect of the pain of separation. When two souls are intertwined in this way, they function like communicating tubes. What one strongly suppresses, the other feels as a symptom. This person is in a state of inner high tension. They want to break the silence, but at the same time they fear it, and therefore send out a very high vibrational frequency that strikes directly into your energy field. Jung called this a mystical participation, an unconscious fusion in which the boundaries of the individual self become permeable. Therefore, the signals you receive are in truth urgent telegrams from their subconscious that reach you. One of the most obvious symptoms of this somatic telepathy is sudden emotional waves that appear for no apparent reason. You are completely calm, going about your tasks, feeling stable and at peace. And suddenly a wave of deep sadness, a pressure in your chest, or a sweet, painful nostalgia washes over you. Here it is crucial to differentiate. If you were completely in balance a second before, this emotion is not yours. It is their emotion that comes to you through the invisible bond. You feel their regret, their fear of losing you for good, and their desire to get closer to you. The feeling is physical, like a sudden flow of heat in the middle of the chest, in the heart chakra, or a buzzing in the ears that changes the pressure in the head. These are confirmations that she is thinking about you intensely and incessantly. It's as if her energy is knocking on the door of your heart before her physical hand dares to knock on the door of your house. Another powerful manifestation of this phenomenon takes place in the dream realm. For Jungian psychology, dreams are the true gateway to the soul, the place where the ego and its defense mechanisms have no control. It's very likely that you've had unusually vivid dreams with this person lately, not chaotic or purely symbolic dreams, but hyper-realistic encounters, lucid conversations, confessions that were never spoken in waking life, or simply a deep look into the eyes that seems like an instant exchange of information. The sensation of awakening is not fear, but certainty and peace. This happens because her spirit still struggles with pride or fear during the day while her being seeks you at night. These nocturnal encounters are energetically real. They are soul meetings in which the conditions for the physical reunion are negotiated. If you dream of her constantly, it means that her soul is dreaming you as well. Her last thought before falling asleep is for you, and that calls you into her dream space. In addition to dreams and physical sensations, there is the phenomenon of synchronous awakening. Suddenly waking up between 3 and 4 in the morning with no sound, no external reason, no alarm clock is a classic sign of spiritual connection. In many traditions, this is considered the hour of the soul, the time when the veil between the worlds is at its thinnest. If you wake up in this hour and your first thought is for this person, or you feel their presence in the room as if they were sitting on the edge of your bed, it is a strong sign that their energy is reaching you. It's possible that she's awake at the same moment thinking about you, or processing your bonding process in a deep dream state. The presence can be so strong that you sometimes even perceive its scent or feel a stroke over your skin, a phenomenon referred to in energy work as clairaudience or clairsentience, which confirms that physical distance is meaningless for energy. Eventually, the outer universe also begins to reflect this inner alignment through synchronicities that subvert any statistical probability. You see her name everywhere, on license plates, in advertisements, in randomly overheard conversations. You repeatedly see sequences of numbers such as 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, or others that have a special meaning for both of you, such as birthdays. You hear her song on the radio at the exact moment you decided to let go of everything. Jung taught us that the outer world rearranges itself as soon as the inner world begins to boil over with a truth. These are not coincidences, it is the universe that winks at you and confirms that the flow of energy has dissolved. You don't obsessively seek these signs. They find you. They are constant reminders that the connection is alive, active, and moving toward dissolution. This person will also be showered with similar signals in their own life, with constant reminders of your existence that will not let them fall back into the sleep of their ignorance. All these energetic symptoms have a single purpose: to prepare you. Your energy system is being recalibrated to receive the impact of her return, so that when she finally breaks the silence in physical space, you are not surprised, but recognize the moment as a natural consequence of all that your body and soul have long since announced to you. It is important to pause at this point. I know that all these signals and the depth of what is happening energetically can be overwhelming, especially if you have carried this hope alone for a long time. You have probably experienced dark nights in which doubts consumed you. days when you wanted to close everything and tried to force a forgetting that never came, moments when you felt completely alone. It's crucial to acknowledge how much courage it took to keep your heart open in a world that constantly urges you to close it. Even though you couldn't see it while struggling with your own insecurities, this person struggled with their own silence. Therefore, this reunion is not a chance event, but the convergence of two inner developments. Everything you've cried, everything you've questioned, and everything you've endured has led you to that precise moment of clarity. You are not here by chance reading these words. You are here because your soul wants to confirm what it has known for a long time in order to be able to take the next step. Before we go deeper into how your own transformation has become the key to this return, I ask you for a little psycho-magical action. To anchor this energy into your physical reality, the universe responds to clear declared intent. Go to the comments and write a simple but powerful sentence. I accept the truth that comes. You don't just interact with a video, you send a signal to your subconscious and to the quantum field that you no longer wait out of lack, but receive out of certainty. When a connection moves in this way, it is crucial that you consciously bring yourself into a state of receptivity. Writing this sentence means telling life that you are no longer afraid of what this person has to say to you, that you are ready to hear the truth that was hidden and to create the new beginning from your inner center, without the old fear that used to accompany you. Take a deep breath and feel how this simple explanation of your readiness transforms the tension of waiting into the calm of arriving. This shift in your attitude leads us to the core of why all of this is happening now and not before. There is an unbreakable universal law that Carl Jung often referred to when he wrote about projection and the psyche, the law of the mirror. This law states that the outer world is nothing more than the reflection of our inner state. For a long time, perhaps without you realizing it, your energy has been focused on lack, on the need for this person to return in order to feel complete again. And it was precisely this vibration of scarcity, paradoxically, that acted as a defensive field. While you were running after it, even in your mind, this person ran away. But something has changed in you recently, perhaps through exhaustion, perhaps through a deep spiritual realization. You have begun to let go. And it is crucial to understand, letting go does not mean giving up, not stopping loving and not resigning. Letting go means trust, reaching the spiritual maturity level where you know that what is meant for you will find you without you having to force, control, or monitor it. What happens to this person is closely related to this letting go. It's as if the universe has been waiting for the exact moment when you loosen your grip so that it can finally move what was previously blocked. Your personal growth has become a silent but powerful catalyst. You may not even realize that you are not the same person as you were when the breakup happened. You have grown, you have become stronger in your loneliness, you have learned to listen to your own needs, and have begun to give yourself the love that you have previously asked for on the outside. In many moments, often without consciously wanting to, you have prepared yourself for this movement, not to be dependent on this person, but to be able to receive all of this from a more stable, dignified, and conscious place. By raising your own vibration and aligning yourself with your inner center, you have stopped sending out the frequency of the victim and have begun to send the frequency of the creator of your reality. And when you change your frequency, the external reality is forced to rearrange itself to match this new music. This transformation of yours has had a tremendous and at the same time wonderful effect on the ego structure of this person. As you've healed your own abandonment wounds and developed emotional autonomy, you've dissolved the toxic pattern that may have fueled their flight movement. Since no one is running after him anymore, it no longer makes sense to flee. Your current stability has become a relentless mirror for that person. She senses, even if only energetically, that you are moving on, that you are radiating from yourself, and that you are no longer desperately waiting at the door. This forced her to recognize her own standstill. Carl Jung explained that the psyche strives for wholeness. By integrating your shadow and developing into a more complete human being, your juxtaposition feels the urgent call to seek its own wholeness in order to be able to meet you at eye level. Your development has raised the standard of connection. It cannot come back to you out of littleness, fear, or breadcrumbs, because your energy today would repel this old version. In order to be able to return to you, it had to grow, break, and reassemble itself. It is fascinating to observe how these dynamics of communicating vessels work. While their minds clung to the idea of keeping their distance and believing they could control their emotions with logic, you've probably processed the emotional pain for both of you. However, now that you have healed much of this pain and found your center, the energetic burden has returned to its original source. Now, it is she who feels the urgency, the longing, and the need for clarification, feelings that you had at the beginning. The universe is always looking for balance. It is your calm today that has awakened their restlessness. It is as if you have created a sacred, luminous space by purifying your inner house, which now makes visible in contrast the chaos that it carries within. Man instinctively seeks the light. This person wants to go back to the place where their soul felt seen, where peace reigned even in the midst of chaos. And she now realizes that this refuge was not a physical place but your energetic presence. But precisely because she now feels this inner contrast so clearly, she begins to understand that true closeness does not arise where everything can be controlled, but where one is willing to be touched. The peace she once found by your side now seems like an echo that she can no longer ignore. It's not a superficial missing, not a sentimental retrospective. It's a deep, existential reminder of who she was when she was held by your energy. She now realizes that it was not the external circumstances that overwhelmed her at the time, but the mirror of a future that was greater than she thought she could be. And that's exactly why she is now taking life back to where she has to find the courage she lacked back then. And so this circle is nearing completion, not because you asked for it, not because you waited, but because two inner journeys that once drifted apart are now moving naturally towards each other again. The return that is imminent is not a repetition, but a new level, born of two transformed hearts. Everything you felt, every wave, every dream, every silence, was preparation for this moment of truth. And when that person comes face to face with you again, it is not out of fear, not out of lack, but out of the deep certainty that your connection was not a coincidence. You don't have to force anything. You don't have to prove anything. You just have to be present, because what comes now finds you, now finds